Hello, I'm Robert,
And I'm Evelyn.
and this is Token About It.
Right off the start, we want to apologize if there's any weird background noise. We really tried, guys, but we couldn't get around background noise today. There is a storm happening, and so we're trying to get it before the worst of the storm gets here because we're expecting like possible hail and even tornado warnings right now. So there may be some background noise. And then also, the dog has been a little barky, and I try to edit that out, but sometimes I can't get it all the way. So, in case there's a dog barking, he's fine. He's just looking for attention and cuddles, and I give him plenty of that when we're not recording.
Okay.
Was there anything else at the top?
No, you said you had your predictions.
I know. I'm so proud of myself. Not only did I like look at my predictions prior to recording this time, I wrote them down.
Okay.
All right. So, this chapter is Homeward Bound. And so
Predictions?
my first prediction was after I remembered his name, which I still am disappointed in myself for forgetting in the first place, that Bill the pony would show up.
Yes, and he does.
Yeah, we'll just say that outright. Bill does show up again, and I get full points. This next one I want to argue about possible half point. So it was a two-part prediction, and if you look back, I was very specific about both parts. So I said Gandalf will stay in Bree and let the hobbits go on alone. I won't say which one, but one of those two things does happen. Could I get a half a point since I counted that as a full prediction?
No.
I want the half point. And then I also said that we would see Farmer Maggot and some mushrooms, but sadly,
Not yet.
not yet. Though I will say, as I was reading this, so going into this chapter, I'm already anxious. We'll talk about it once we get further into this chapter, but I got more anxious. And then as I was reading the last page of the chapter, I saw the chapter title for the next chapter, and I'm full on just a pile of anxiety right now. So I'm scared about what's gonna happen
It's just a
moving
book.
forward. But I think I wanna I ask you now if we say that we see Farmer Maggot and we get mentions of mushrooms in this next chapter? Because I feel like they're going to talk to Farmer Maggot and the mushrooms once they actually enter the
I'm going
Shire.
to talk to the mushrooms?
Yes. But no, I was like, my whole thought process was it's like as they enter the Shire, they're gonna go through Farmer Maggot's territory like they did coming through. So my thought process is just like when they enter the Shire, they're gonna see him. So can I just use that prediction for next time as well?
You can, but I just want to add something. When
Hmm.
they went through his territory, they were trying not to be seen on the road. There's no reason for them not to be seen anymore.
Mm. Still say they're gonna stop by Farmer Maggot.
Okay.
That being said, I just feel like they're gonna do that because it seems like they're kind of going like all these loose ends, and I feel like that was not necessarily a loose end, but an end for us to know what happened. Because Bill the Pony wasn't necessarily a loose end either, because Tolkien, back in the first book, eased our worry by letting us know that he arrived safely in Bree a time later. But um, yeah,
Okay,
that's just
Dookie.
my thought.
Alrighty.
Well, into the chapter, I guess.
All right. Well, so just real quick,
Mhm.
so Tolkien makes it a point to mention that they left on October 6th.
Right.
Um, so I went back to look it up. Frodo originally left the Shire on the 23rd of September, 3018 by Shire reckoning.
Okay.
And now it's 6 October 3019 by Shire reckoning. So they've been gone a year and 13 days.
Yeah. Because the chapter just immediately starts that they're slowly headed home, and Frodo's feeling really uneasy, and he realizes that it's been a year since he was stabbed.
Right. And that's the point. And that's
Yeah,
why he
that's
bothers
to remember.
to remember that it's October 6th.
Right, because it's been a year since he was stabbed on Weathertop, and we were talking about this last episode and last chapter, but he still has the shoulder injury. And we were talking about how, like, these injuries, like, some still linger and may never be fully resolved. And Gandalf confirms that in this chapter, essentially.
Yeah, because he says some wounds cannot be wholly cured.
Right. Which I said it last time, but I'll say the condensed part this time. I think it's really great symbolism that I know Tolkien did on purpose, that um even when evil is defeated, the the scars of the evil that they did can still remain.
Right. And but yet, so when Gandalf says some wounds cannot wholly be cured,
Mhm.
Frodo asked the question, "When shall I find rest?" And
Mhm.
Gandalf goes out of his way not to answer that question.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote that down too, that not only that, but he wonders, like, before he even says that, like, he's returning to the Shire, but he is completely changed. And if he's going to be able to find rest as a changed person in his old home.
Yeah. And also, what I thought was interesting is that Tolkien makes it a point to say that they're writing at their leisure
Yeah.
and they're lingering.
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. And at this point, I kind of wrote in my notes, this is very classical and traditional hero's journey, where I love that in a lot of sagas prior to Tolkien and even books after Tolkien, we don't really see this aftermath of the hero's journey. Even though that is a caveat as part of the hero's journey that doesn't have to be part of the main one, but can be, that it's not done often. So I was, again, I've been saying this the entire time, I'm really enjoying the aftermath of this huge thing that they've all been through, especially Frodo, with this. And again, it makes me nervous for what's going to happen in the future, but it's something that I feel like I don't see a lot in modern books about, like, the aftermath, where it's kind of left vague up to the imagination, which I do enjoy. I do think that's really fun to be able to imagine the end, but getting the kind of confirmation, I'm really enjoying that too, because it's not something in my own personal experience that I've seen a lot of.
you read
And
them all books.
I read a lot of your books.
No, you don't. All right, so
But yeah, but the next day he's feeling a lot better.
right, so they go past Weathertop.
Yeah, I wrote down Frodo, like, he's like kind of like leading at that point where he doesn't want to linger. He's like, I'm good. Let's get past it.
Right. And as they're entering the area around Bree and into Bree, um, you know, they notice people staring at them and everything.
Yeah.
And originally they thought that, oh, they're back. But it's not that they're back, it's that they're warriors
Yes.
coming back.
Right.
That
And
they have changed.
yes. Yeah, it's taking a little bit for people to, like, recognize them, including when they come to the gates of Bree itself. One, they have to really call out to get anyone to even come to the gates. And then when they arrive, they're just completely suspicious until they realize that it's them and Gandalf. And again, they realize that they're warriors and they're kind of excited for them to come in. And that's, I mean, there was definitely, like, looking back at the chapter, there were hints prior, but this is when I first started to get suspicious of, oh no, not good things are happening.
So yeah, so they get into Bree and they they get to the inn, they get to the
Mhm.
pony.
Yeah, as they're going to the inn, the guy that lets them in is just like, yeah, all your horses arrived. And they're like, it's good. I'm glad to hear it. Um, and um, they're they're realizing that they're getting very surprised responses, like you said, about not just being back, but being back alive. And but just people are acting very strange as this is all happening, including the barman, like as they're coming in.
Right. And so one of the things, and then so he talks about the barman talks about things that have happened,
Right.
right?
We're getting
And the only spirited response we get, what? No pipe weed?
yes. So yeah, so he's offering free creature comforts to welcome them back, but and that was the second thing that kind of like piqued my interest was he was saying that they haven't been getting much stuff from the Shire, especially the pipeweed, and that again made me like, oh, what's gonna happen? Because it's like I've been hearing hints from you and others that there's something happening in the Shire, but I truly have no idea at this point. But he relays to them, he tries to seem a little blasé about it, I felt, but he's talking that there's a lot of crime. Like, there wasn't really a lot of crime prior to these
Right.
events, but after they left, there were highwaymen, there were robberies, there were even some murders.
That's because the Rangers left.
Well, yes, the Rangers left too, which was also strange. But we know the Rangers left for to go help Aragorn.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like just because he mentions that there's been a lot of killings and that was not common before.
Right.
And it does kind of it all of the hobbits and Gandalf, like they know something is up, but everyone seems so on edge that they don't necessarily want to ask about it to upset them.
Yeah. And they also think about Harry Goatleaf and
Mhm.
Bill Ferny.
Yeah.
It's quickly mentioned, but it's a reminder that that they kind of worked with the Nazguls,
Right.
even though they might not know
What
exactly
they
what
were
they were. They knew that
were not good and
they
they helped them
and they
anyway.
helped them anyway. Correct.
Yeah, and it's kind of implied that others also started.
And I want to express the fact that I find Token's little humor here interesting.
Okay.
Harry's last name is Goatleaf.
Okay.
All right. Goatleaf is the type of plant that nothing else will eat except a goat because of their iron stomachs.
Okay.
Because the cartoon thing where they eat cans and
Right,
all
right,
that kind
right,
of
right,
stuff.
right, yeah.
Yeah. And so I just,
The
so
stereotype is true. I've worked with so many goats. They will eat anything and everything. You got to be careful. I've seen them nibble on people's ponytails. There's a reason I put my hair in a bun when I work with animals, and part of that reason is I've worked with goats. But anyway,
but as they return as well, Gandalf says, yes, they are returning, and now there's a king as well.
yes. Yeah, they're talking, they mention the king, and I think it's so funny because the barman is just like, oh, the king, hoity toity toity, up
Yeah.
on his
Oh,
throne and drinking
wine out
wine.
of his gold cup.
Yeah. And they're all like, you know him.
I know. And Sam's like, hey, you dunderhead. I mean, it's not the word to use,
Right, but he's like, you
but
realize it's
you,
Strider,
it's
right?
Strider. You realize Strider's the king because, oh, I can't imagine Strider sitting there and throwing and drinking wine out of gold cup, but
He
who knows?
he like fully does not believe it. He basically the way I read it was that he was just like, okay, good joke, guys, good joke.
And,
It,
and then when Sam is reminded that Bill the pony is in the stables, he's like, I'll see y'all later.
yeah, he's like, I also make sure my friend is fine. And then he goes on them with their journey as well, which is really nice.
And so that's what I find really interesting here too is that you know they spend the night there,
Mhm.
they get rest. Uh, Berryman doesn't want to bring them into the common room if they're not ready,
Yeah.
but he would like them to come in. And
Yes.
so they make a very brief
Like,
appearance,
right.
but they were in their own little parlor for
Right.
most of it.
And I find it interesting. Something that stuck out to me is someone kind of they point out a younger folk like calls out for a
A
song,
song.
and everyone's like, "Oh, really? The
No,
song?"
last time they gave us a song, we just had crap happen.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So like yeah, you can imagine like, somebody,
that wasn't there last
that
time.
wasn't there like
Like
maybe
trying to cheer, like brighten the mood.
like one of the young men who probably just aged into the age range where he can be in
Right.
the bar.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Give us a song!" And everybody just kind of goes,
No, no, no.
What?"
Yeah, it's like, no, 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 no.
Gives him the stink eye.
Um, but even with their brief visit, everyone the next morning is much happier for their presence.
Hmm.
Like just their presence like brought some joy and back and like some life back into Bree, where because they've returned and mostly unharmed at this point, though they're well healed, then it's kind of like good news in that the good guys have won, and so things should hopefully be returning back to normal at this
Right.
point.
And they all have their own reasons why they want to
Mm-hmm.
get on the road again.
Right.
And but I think, but Mary, I was joking about Mary and pipeweed, but
Mm-hmm.
now he expresses some real worry about the
The
South fording
right.
because,
There's no pipe.
yeah, because if they haven't been growing pipeweed, what's going on?
Exactly.
And they're also warned that they may not be welcomed at the gate. And
Hmm.
there's like,
What gate?
what gate? There's no gate there. There's a gate there now.
Yeah, so it's just so suspicious. And that's when I accidentally saw, we won't say it yet, but that's when I saw the chapter title for the next one. It was like as I was reading this whole last part. And I'm just like, I don't like this. But like the last little part of this is Gandalf does say that at this point they need to go on alone and it's time for them to kind of deal with whatever is to come. And he needs to have a long conversation with Tom Bombadil.
Tom Bombadil.
Yes. So they part ways at the end of this chapter.
Yeah, Tom Bombadil, Tom Bombadillo. And if you remember earlier on that Gandalf, when he heard that they had met Tom Bombadil, that he was able to hold the ring and not affect
Mhm.
it. It almost sounds like Gandalf is like, if we knew that, we would have got him involved. And so
Mhm.
now it's almost like, okay, now I finally get to go talk to Tom Bombadil about this mess.
Mhm.
So I find that interesting.
Yeah.
And
No, didn't Gandalf say that Tom Bombadil would have no interest leaving his realm?
that's true too, but
Yeah. But maybe they could have convinced him. It's just like, it's going to be a quick walk. Just go.
yeah, I mean, because remember, these are mortals too,
Mm-hmm.
whereas Gandalf's not,
And neither is Tom.
and not as Tom.
Yeah. Yeah, so I can see him being like, it'll, like, trying to be like, it'll be a buddy adventure.
Okay, then. Um, but then Gandalf also reminds them that Saruman is still out there.
Yeah. He's like, don't, like, keep in mind, he's still out there, and
And
while I let him go, I still don't trust him.
well, he didn't let him go.
Did?
He escaped from the tower that the tree ants were supposed to be guarding.
No.
Yes.
Treebeard talked him half to death, so he felt bad for him and let him go. And then they came across him as they were traveling, and he's just like, just get out of here.
He escaped. Um, he escaped because he used his golden tongue to talk him into letting him go.
Yeah.
It's not like they dug a tunnel escape. He tricked them into letting him escape. Anyway, so and as Evelyn said earlier, Gondalf is not returning to the Shire.
Right.
And Gondalf is also obviously not sharing something.
Yes.
Um, and and Frodo mentions that getting close to home feels more like falling asleep. Finally,
Hmm.
that it's uh,
Mm.
he's comparing getting home to like getting going to bed for a good night's sleep type of thing,
Okay.
which I find I mean that's very hobbitish, and
Yes.
it's one of the few hobbitish things we've heard from Frodo since they were rescued by the Eagles.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a good like Hobbit kind of saying.
All right.
Yeah. Um, I know this is a really short episode, but it was a really short chapter. I think that's all I have.
Yeah, like I said, it was only 7
I mean,
pages for
I mean,
me.
yeah, it was, it was a fair amount of pages, but for me, like I was saying before, it was a lot of just kind of getting that anxiety of like something's not quite right.
Right.
It's that like alternate universe where everything is an inch to the left.
Right. And also, it's interesting that, Tolkien would want to tell his readers how Bree fared.
Hmm.
Because when we left Bree, it sounded like Bree was getting ready to fall under darkness.
Yeah. Well, also, I mean, it doesn't really surprise me that much that Tolkien would do that because a lot of the themes from this book have been that even the smallest and seemingly most insignificant piece is still just as important. So, yeah, that's just for me that make for Tolkien to say something like that would make perfect sense.
Right. And I like the way he does this too.
Hmm.
I mean, these are the things that they don't include in any of the movies. I mean, they did.
Well, I mean, they don't have time.
Well, they could have made time,
I mean, even with the director's cut, it was just a lot.
but they still could have made time. So,
I feel like when it comes, because I have had this argument with my Harry Potter friends, I feel like you can't do an exact one for one adaptation of a book to a movie or a TV show because even if you had every little thing, fans would still say, oh, you missed something, or something was different, or something was off. So I'm always of the mindset that when it comes to book versus other media adaptations, that it should be inspired by and stay as true to as possible,
right.
but make it so it fits that media that they're going to,
But
you know?
it's
Like for
not like
Harry Potter, I can, like, obviously they changed way too much in the last few Harry Potter books because things, but I always view it as it's the Harry Potter movie universe that's inspired by the books, and then the books themselves are the books. The Hunger Games is the one that I would say is probably the closest adaptation for modern literature that I've read recently, but even then they have to change some stuff to meet that film versus book media, and I think that that should be okay. I feel like fans shouldn't like should have that okay. Ella Enchanted, they basically changed everything, and while the movie is really really fun, I would have enjoyed a more exact Ella Enchanted book, but the movie was also really fun, just very alternate
yeah, I've
universe.
used that as my example before. Is how different the movie is from the book, but both of them are very entertaining and they stick to the core.
Right, and they're and separately they still work.
Right.
Yeah.
But but I don't want to say too much because you haven't read
I
further on yet.
Yeah, so go ahead and just say the name of the chapter and I'll just
I
like
don't.
internally
What's the
panic.
name of the chapter?
The Scourging of the Shire or the
The Scouring of the.
Scouring of the Shire. I saw that and I feel like that's like ringing a bell. I feel like I've heard that before. I actually think that was the accidental spoiler card that I
Card, yes, I
saw
was getting
with
ready to say
Magic the
that. That's what I
Gathering
was getting ready to say.
on. So we did a bonus episode where we looked at just 2 single packs from the Magic the Gathering Lord of the Rings, and Dad had taken out all the spoiler cards, but he forgot one, and it made me have a small panic attack. But I truly I don't know what to expect. My head is just my worry, I should say. I don't know if this can be part of my predictions or not, but my worry is in my head. I see literally the Shire on fire, like already partially scorched, but like still like on literal fire, with these poor hobbits that are so like they're not like the Baggins and the Baggin adjacents like Merry and Pippin, where they like order and routine and their little humble, nice abodes, and they're forced to become these fighters where evil has, even if they're fighting on the side of good, evil has corrupted them so much where all of the stuff that they're comfortable with and their morals of not fighting and not and like being kind have now been ruined with this, and it's just I'm just spiraling.
Yeah, stop it.
Am I close or am I making you spiral?
No, just stop it.
Okay.
So
Action of its own.
that you're going to be anxious? Yeah, no.
No, that's a given. I mean that they're gonna see the Shire, like parts of the Shire, literally on fire.
Okay, you can use that as a.
Okay, so I got Farmer Maggot. I got the Shire. Part of the Shire will literally be on fire. I need a third prediction.
Oh,
No, I have a vision in my head of a friendly hobbit that they knew with like one of those like hay pitchforks, like trying to stab something.
Okay.
Is that too vague, or can that work?
You can do that.
Okay.
I know what you mean.
Okay.
Uh,
I think that's it.
yeah, but going. I want to get back to the movie thing.
Okay.
So,
Time.
so seeing Bree
Mm-hmm.
the way it is,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I think is an important part of the story.
Okay.
The next chapter is very important about the Hobbit characters.
Mm-hmm.
But in the movie, we just pop to Sam's married and has kids and is writing in the red book.
Oh, so we completely miss what, again, this whole aftermath that Tolkien has done about like tying up all these ends.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I wish they would do. I mean, that would have been better energy and time and resources that Peter Jackson could have used instead of splitting The Hobbit up into three-hour movies with stuff that's not even in the book at all.
We'll get there when we get there. Believe me, we're gonna
The
get there.
whole
When we
elf
get there.
and dwarf
I know.
flirting and all
I
that
know. We
crap.
mention this every time the Hobbit movie comes up. We mention how much the first movie, excellent. Then they decided to make it 2 more movies, which I don't know if it was Peter Jackson specifically,
It was Peter Jackson specifically,
or if it was the production company that was kind of like hinting that he should, because I think, like, if I remember correctly, it was supposed to be 2 movies, and they're just like, make it a trilogy. We want the money. Which I'm going to go ahead and say, pay the writers, pay the actors. We support the strike.
So we took a little time off of recording because I wanted to look this up to make sure I remembered right.
Mm-hmm.
So in an interview with The Guardian,
That shook the house. I don't know if y'all heard it, but that was some thunder.
That made it.
That was a crack. Okay.
So Peter Jackson was being interviewed by The Guardian, and there's a quote out. I want to get the quote exactly right.
Okay.
When he was making The Hobbit, he thought, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Well, you know what, Peter? Neither do we. Neither do we. And
I have to be cynical that the movie studio probably was putting it in his ear that he needed to elongate it
he
again
is
for
one
the
of the
movie.
producers.
But he's not the only producer.
I know, but he's one of the producers.
I know, but we're both huge Marvel and DC fans, and we both know what those producers are like too.
But the whole point,
And it was Warner's Brothers too, right?
um,
Yeah, it was Warner Brothers.
and so the problem is, you know, he originally, committed to two.
Hmm.
That whole story. If you only did book stuff,
Hmm.
I mean, talking about adding crap.
Hmm.
No, he
Oh,
added
another crack.
he added 2 movies worth of crap
Yeah.
because when they said they were going to make it into 2 movies, I'm like,
Hmm.
why?
I mean, 2 movies I could understand, but
mean, it's-
three, absolutely not.
I mean, it's one book.
Okay, we're going way too far on this, and we're going to be talking about this because we're going to be doing The Hobbit soon anyway. Oh, I do want to ask you, can you check to see how many chapters we have left in general?
So there are 2 chapters left. Like I said, chapter 8 is the scouring of the Shire, which you need to know the title anyway, so you can make
Hmm.
your predictions.
Well, don't tell me the other
I'm not going to,
chapters at this
but you
point.
keep talking about how thick the book still is afterwards.
I know, it's the appendices are
There
pretty
are
long.
there are
But the fact that there's still technically 3 chapters is like, oh my gosh, this is insanity. As is the thunder.
I mean there are 50 pages worth of appendices. So we have the history of the kings and the rulers and the tell of years and a whole little area about family trees and
Hmm.
also explaining the Shire calendar and writing and spelling how I mean, I know I've mentioned this before,
Hmm.
but the original copy, handwritten, typed copy, and then typed copy
Hmm.
that was sent to his publishers. They sent it back to him because you're misspelling dwarves.
I do. I remember this
And he
story.
said, no, this is how it's spelled.
It's my world. It's my book. You wouldn't correct Shakespeare, would you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Though you should. But as a Shakespeare nerd, that makes sense. Um,
This is awesome, guys.
I really like we have a good microphone that doesn't do a lot of background noise, so I really don't know if y'all can hear this, but we actually love thunder here, hail Zeus. So, I know, stupid joke. Um,
Old joke.
okay,
How old are you?
30,
Yeah, you've been telling that joke since you were 16.
probably. But yeah, so we'll probably go watch the storm after this. We watched the storm a little bit before this too,
Yeah.
but
The wind blew us off the porch.
yeah, so
Not
okay.
literally.
No, the wind blew rain horizontally on us, so we went no and left the porch. But yeah, so there's 3 more chapters.
2.
Okay.
2.
I thought it was 2 after the scourging.
No,
Or just 2 more in
there's
general.
2 more in general.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay. Not bad. All right. Okay.
And between the 2 chapters, it's only like 21 pages.
Okay.
So,
It's not too bad. All right.
and after the 60 pages in the appendices.
Okay. All right, that makes me feel a little bit better, but also like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? All right. Yeah.
I've been Robert,
I've been Evelyn.
and this has been kind of like Token about it.